This is how nothing becomes something. But is this something good enough to disrupt the boring 2022 smartphone market? I've used the Nothing Phone 1 as a daily driver for a month, and that's the review you must watch till the end in order to get to know it. Let's inspect. So, 4 weeks, more than 500 photos and 100 videos and kind of 30 full battery cycles later, I'm ready to share with you about my experience with the Nothing Phone 1 in the first month ever since I have it. It's been my daily driver, and I think I can call this relationship kind of long relationship, although it really depends on the view. So, in this video, I'll share with you everything I got to learn based on my own experience, and we're going to focus precisely on the hardware, a bit of focus on the camera, we'll talk about the software, all the other areas which are worth mentioning so that you get objective or sort of subjective opinion about how this feels if you use it as a daily driver for a long period of time. To those of you who are not aware of the niche or price, a quick refresher pointing to the upper mid-range segment where priced at close to $500, it must outperform devices like Google Pixel 6, OnePlus Nord series, the Mi 12 Lite, the Galaxy A7 III line and similar. The trick that Nothing hoped to do the job right is to position it as the Android alternative to an iPhone so that you kind of feel that it has a good value. The unboxing experience has been remarkable though. It's been the kind of buzz that I haven't experienced since close to a decade when unpacking the OnePlus One. This is a package to remember. The phone slides out, so does the charging cable. This is where the innovative style ends and similarities to some high-end devices begin. No charger is included, which in my opinion is a big miss. Not that it's hard to buy one, it's just that beating the competition can work out well only if you try to offer more. My hopes to see this happening apparently moved towards the hardware and the software. 9 out of 10 people that have noticed me holding this phone have thought this is an iPhone or thought that I have finally switched to an iPhone, because it looks like one. There is no mute switch, however. Somehow the Nothing's team has decided to drop one of the functions that iPhones have, and it really matters. Kind of a pity that they didn't come up with an alternative to the alert sliders solution. On the other hand, they do sell you the idea to love the cool-looking LED strip called glyphs, which is cool but not as useful as they want you to believe it is. So the quick tour over the specs this time is going to be just based on me commenting while you do the reading if you still need to. Nothing have hyped the new generation of the processor used, and they're probably the first company to ever build it in mass-produced smartphone. There are configurations with enough RAM, storage and other specs, only 2 cameras on the back, a decent display panel and most good features for a decent 2022 Android smartphone. Truth is, however, that this phone might look good, might feel good, but nothing about it in terms of hardware is great, probably with exception for what we have on the rear side, because it's really catchy, you know, this glyph design is pretty awesome. The rest is obviously inspired by iPhone. Now, if you jump to this phone from a flagship device, which is running Snapdragon 800, that's going to feel like a downgrade. So obviously, there's a lot more to optimize in terms of snappiness, and although I've seen a lot of people claiming it's buttery smooth, well, get it for a week and you would agree with me that there are a lot of glitches, and even software like Google Chrome is not well optimized towards just smooth scrolling. So there's still a lot of work to be done there. In terms of camera performance, I already have a thorough inspection of the camera compared against iPhone 13. That's something you don't want to miss. I'm going to link it somewhere here. In terms of RAM, 8 or 12 gigabytes RAM, 128 or 256 gigabyte in terms of storage, UFS 3.1, and that's better than what Samsung are installing in A73, for instance. The fact that there is no expandable storage means that probably the 256 gigabyte edition is the better option. But now, since I mentioned the camera, I guess that's a good place to start exploring all these components in depth. Being just a dual camera setup, the main image sensor is IMX766 by Sony, and there also is an ultra-wide camera. The main camera takes very good, close to excellent pictures in daytime conditions. but seems to be that last year's Nord 2 is capable of extracting better dynamic range as opposed to the Nothing Phone 1. As mentioned, with more light, performance is superb, but in low light conditions, it's the software processing that makes a big difference, and this is where Google's native camera app or Xiaomi's MIUI camera apps are going to do a lot better job. Nothing have tried to emulate the iPhone's experience, almost copying the interface, and I can say lots of good words about the simplicity, but there are certain important features missing, like an HDR on and off switch. Also, AI-based scene detection is missing, and that's something that brands like Xiaomi, Samsung and iPhone have nailed with their latest flagships. So for the main camera performance, looks like Nothing have the right hardware, but they need to do something about the software. Video performance is not much different, perhaps even somewhat worse. Skipped frames, sometimes choppy footage, lack of 4K 60 frames per second recording, and the traditional for most Android devices, probably except for Samsung, missing 24 FPS option. Even the slow motion has some skipped frames, and this has been rather disappointing. There's one major strength, though. The white balance has almost always been consistent and superb, something that many other brands fail at. The ultra-wide camera is performing in a similar way, great if you're not a demanding photographer, or being mediocre if you want it to be the best smartphones right now. It is nice to see that the night mode is available with this camera as well. However, there is no dedicated section inside the app. You must press the icon if it appears at all. Kind of irritating sometimes. Oh, and I've had the camera app crashing at least a dozen of times up until now. Never had this issue with other midrangers or flagships of 2022 so far. The next big topic I would comment about is the processing power. It's satisfactory, but has nothing to do with the performance of Snapdragon 800 series. I thought initially that this is gonna be my next favorite daily driver because gaming is not my thing, and all I need is good camera and snappy interface. The camera is halfway there, but the interface is nowhere near really snappy if you run it with a lot of apps. Quite the opposite, this is the mid-ranger with the worst overall user experience that I've tried this year. It was great in the first 2 to 3 days, but then you notice the stuttery scrolling, the aggressive RAM management, the very irritating Google Chrome performance, some weird UI glitches. Okay, the last thing is fixable with updates, but I doubt Nothing can do much more about the performance. I can't believe I'm saying it, but even throttled Snapdragon 8 Generation 1 feels better than Nothing Phone 1's performance. Gaming has been at acceptable levels. Most online games, however, suffer from good connection regardless of the status of gaming mode, which is supposed to optimize the Wi-Fi and the cellular reception and keep the CPU at its best state. I noticed that Nothing Phone 1 launches most games as quickly as Poco M4 5G, which I was testing in parallel, and the latter one has a lot lower grade of processor and price tag. I'm afraid that in terms of hardware, Nothing don't seem to have a lot more tricks their sleeves, except for glyphs. The RAM management is okay, although we prefer to see even more RAM. I got the 8GB version, which in most cases is alright. I've went for the 256GB storage edition, which is generously okay, but this is one more phone that has USB 2.0 standard compliance. Not a disaster, but enough to make you feel that transferring files would take forever. From all these components, I would give the lowest rating to the speakers. There's lack of clarity, the stereo distribution is uneven, and loudness is also not as good. I remind you that I'm saying all this based on who we are comparing the Nothing Phone 1 with. It will of course seem to sound great if you upgrade from a 3 or 4-year-old Samsung A50, for instance. If you wonder about protection, I still have the factory-installed screen folio and the original transparent case, which looks like that after close to a month. Possible inconvenience is the cut for the USB port because not all kinds of cables are gonna fit there. I'll gladly get some other third-party cases, but given the special back design, I guess finding the right case for this phone is gonna be a lot more challenging than usual. Software-wise, there obviously are a lot of good implementations and solutions, but also some areas which are a little irritating. For instance, the navigation, well, obviously nothing are trying to push you in direction using gestures, just like iPhone. There's the option to run this software button navigation, no way to rearrange the buttons, therefore you gotta be used to the alignment that Google Pixel phones are using, but if you come from a brand like Xiaomi or Samsung, that's gonna feel a little uncomfortable at the beginning. Well, the interface looks amazing. I really love the choice for a font and the overall design of the interface. That's really awesome. Another irritating drawback is the lack of possibility to define custom ringtones for the different SIM cards. From the remaining items of interest, battery life has been superb at the start, giving me easily a day and a half. Then, after a week or so, somehow it got as bad as most 2022 phones, so if you hope for outstanding battery life, you ain't get such from this guy. Furthermore, the lack of crazy fast charging is yet another drawback. True, Nothing Steam promises 50% charge within 30 minutes, but at the same time, you can buy phones that charge to full for 20-ish minutes. As you notice from the estimations fetched by Battery Guru, results are far from ideal, unfortunately, and the screen on time has been hardly exceeding 5 hours per charge. Note that it's summertime and I'm spending most of my days outdoors, which is the worst case scenario for good screen on time achievements. The whole software feeling is close to stock Android, similar to what Pixel phone line provides, but when I read all these reviews speaking of battery smooth operation and responsiveness, I dare you, use this phone for 10 days and let's be honest about it, neither smooth nor as stable as most people say, but I still have hopes about seeing improvements. Within 30 days, there have been 3 software updates, so there apparently are people taking care of whatever is not so good. Kudos to the team for adding 0 bloatware. It literally is 0. You only have the Android stock apps which are usually included, the launcher, and the theme. There aren't any fancy or catchy areas. Well, the quick settings are pretty fresh looking and functional. The glyph config is also fun to do. In my case, not really something I would regularly use. As usual, I have a list with drawbacks, and I'm gonna start with what I'm mostly concerned about. Multiple reports about dead pixels, build of LED stripes, and other minor hardware issues. Worst of all has been my support experience. Even 2 weeks after the phone was released, there still was no dedicated section about Phone 1 on Nothing's website, and there was no dedicated way to contact the support. Well, if you still succeed to do that like I did, it's probably going to take them much longer than what you would hope for. For a very simple question that I've had in regards to the button menu navigation, it took them more than 10 days to give me a response. I'll let you decide for yourself whether that's a good timing or not, but in my point of view, having to wait for 10 days for such a simple question makes the support almost useless. So, besides the poor support, we add the rather slow quick charging, the glitchy software, the subpar camera experience, the lack of video output via the USB, the lack of proper always-on display mode, the inconsistent performance, and all the other little things that kind of make me think that Nothing are way better about creating hype than actually creating the perfect smartphone. Summary time. Obviously, this is looking really great, but I do believe it's overhyped, it's overpriced, and doesn't deliver all the qualities and the features that Nothing left the impression it would. Like, subpar camera experience. The software is still not there yet, and I was really expecting the software is going to be really great in terms of performance. And looks like the Snapdragon 778G Plus is just not the right choice for delivering a truly great smartphone, unless Nothing are planning a Plus or Pro edition of this device, but it would be funny. Nothing Phone 1 Plus, that sounds ridiculous. I do realize how difficult it is to build something from scratch, especially about hardware, especially a brand new smartphone. So I really hope that Nothing are going to do better in terms of software development in the future, bring a lot more updates and make this interface feel as if you're running a flagship. Because sadly, at this point of time, if we compare it to OnePlus One, which was the other smartphone which created that much hype some years ago, this is not a flagship killer, not even a mid-range killer, but it has a lot of potential. And it would be great to hear from you. What do you think? Is Nothing Phone 1 a great buy in 2022, or something which better just tech enthusiasts like us should be going for? Comments are down below the video. Thank you very much for watching this a bit longer than usual review, and I hope it was useful and fun to watch. And don't forget to subscribe for more cool tech inspections. My name is Michael. Wishes for a fantastic day. See ya!